Good evening, everyone. This is your evening update. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter, and we got a lot to talk about in this video. A big storm system that will bring a lot of rainfall, but some severe weather to parts of the country as we go through the next few days. We're going to see mild temperatures. That will change as we get into the middle of February. Winter is not over, and we're going to be going over the weather pattern that you need to know in this forecast. So if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are approaching 122,000 subscribers. Thanks to everybody who subscribed so far. Also, if you want to go above and beyond, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely do appreciate it. Let's look at our temperatures here out across the west for tomorrow morning. And notice we're going to start off here in the higher elevations, especially. As you know, naturally it is colder as you go up in the atmosphere, and it is colder here in the Rockies, but you can see the lower elevations, seeing temperatures in the 20s and the 30s. Here's where we'll end up tomorrow afternoon. And a lot of these areas out across the west will be warming up into the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. We look at the central United States, starting off in places like Chicago at 32 degrees, 27 in Milwaukee, 28 in Des Moines, and 31 in Omaha. Further to the south, 45 in Wichita, and we're at 50 degrees to start in Oklahoma City. As we go into tomorrow afternoon, record high temperatures, or at least near record highs, will be possible in places like Chicago, into the 50s there, 51 there in Des Moines. We're at 47 in the Twin Cities tomorrow afternoon. And then over here into Wichita, we are in the low 50s at 53. Dallas-Fort Worth at 61 tomorrow afternoon. Looking here at the east, and Thursday morning, very cold up here into Maine, portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York. Temperatures starting off below zero, in the single digits below zero, and our wind chills over here will be in the 20s below zero. So make sure to bundle up, cover all exposed skin. Frostbite can occur in as little as 20 to 30 minutes in these types of temperatures. But other than that, across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Southeast, temperatures will be in the 20s and 30s. Further south you go toward the Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas will be into the 40s. And as we go through the rest of the day on Thursday over here, we're going to see temperatures getting up into the 50s into the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, 60s and 70s across a lot of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. Looking at the temperatures, yes, no surprise, we're seeing near record highs or potentially some record highs as we go into Thursday. The upper air temperatures are very warm here across the Midwest into the Ohio Valley tomorrow. That continues further to the east on Friday. Notice a lot of these oranges. That is above normal temperatures. The blues, the greens, the purples, those are below normal temperatures. And notice as we go into the weekend, we're going to see another warm up across the plains, and that will translate east across portions of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and really into the Mid-Atlantic as well. Let's look here at our new big storm system that is moving out across the portions of the plains. This could be bringing us some heavy rainfall and rounds of severe weather. Notice our low pressure system here in Colorado as we go into Thursday morning will be a handing off to a stronger low that will develop back here into the Sooner State of Oklahoma, and that will actually continue to move up into the Ohio Valley Friday morning as a 1,000 millibar low, and that'll be strong enough to produce some heavy rain and some severe weather just to the south of that low pressure system. So let's get into the nuts and bolts here of the forecast. As we go into this evening, we're going to see some showers and storms from portions here of Texas up into Oklahoma and Arkansas. Some of these thunderstorms could become strong to severe, damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, large hail, quarter size or larger at times, and a couple brief tornadoes will be possible. And in addition to that, heavy rainfall, flash flooding will be a concern. And then as we go into overnight tonight, we're going to see this area blossom, and it's going to move over the same areas. Notice it's not in a hurry to move eastward. It's kind of sitting over the same area. So flash flooding will become a threat here in addition to the severe weather threat. And then finally, Thursday morning, we see numerous thunderstorms across the Razorback State, Sooner State, and the Lone Star State, which would be Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And then notice as we go into Thursday afternoon, we're going to see a lot of that rainfall move up there toward Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana. The severe weather threat, though, on Thursday will be shifting further down to the south. And then as we go into Thursday night, we can see that continue to move further to the east. Got some heavier rains as well. on the back side of this system into Kansas City, back toward Topeka into northeastern Kansas as we go into tomorrow evening. And then notice as we go into Friday, that severe weather threat will be shifting towards the southeast. Let's talk about the severe weather threat going through tonight. Storm Prediction Center's day one outlook has a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk of severe weather. That's in the dark green from portions of far southern Oklahoma into North Texas. This does include the Dallas-Fort Worth area and into San Angelo as well, and just north of San Antonio. And there is a small chance that we could have a tornado, a 2% chance of tornadoes between San Angelo and San Antonio and just to the south of the DFW area. Otherwise, damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour and quarter-size hail or larger will be the main mode of severe weather through tonight. Then as we go into Thursday, it's shifting a little bit further to the east, a little heightened area of severe weather as well. There is a yellow shaded area that is level 2 out of 5, slight risk of severe weather. Does include places like Natchez, Mississippi, up to Greenville, into Monroe, Louisiana, near Shreveport, Baton Rouge, Alexandria, and Lake Charles, and all the way back here into the Houston and Galveston area. We'll be keeping an eye on that. But notice the dark green, level 1 out of 5 marginal risk, extending back toward the DFW area, Tyler, Texas, Little Rock, over here into Jackson, Mississippi, and New Orleans. So be keeping an eye on that. There is a heightened area of tornado potential tomorrow on Thursday, a 5% shading there in the brown shaded color, 2% shading in the green. And so there could be tornadoes from Little Rock all the way to the Gulf Coast as we go through the day on Thursday. Then finally, as we go into Friday, as we finish off the day there in the month of January, we can see the potential of some severe weather for Mobile, Montgomery, and Tallahassee, Panama City in there as well. And that will be mainly damaging winds and hail, but a couple tornadoes will be possible. In addition to the severe weather threat, heavy rainfall and very heavy rainfall will be the main concern here outside of the severe weather threat. A narrow swath, but a potent swath of 2 to 4 inches worth of rain from Dallas-Fort Worth through Little Rock up here toward Paducah, Kentucky, and this could lead to some flash flooding. And we look at the eastern view, even into the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and up towards the Northeast, not seeing as heavy of amounts, but we're still seeing amounts anywhere from a half an inch upwards to an inch here, so that could lead to some isolated flash flooding. In fact, there are flood watches that are currently in place from the Dallas-Fort Worth area through Little Rock up toward Jonesboro, Arkansas, and into Paducah, Kentucky. That'll be something to keep an eye on as we go through the next 24 hours. So through tonight, there is a slight risk for flash flooding from the Dallas-Fort Worth area up there toward Fort Smith, Arkansas. Little Rock, you're in the marginal risk for flash flooding through tonight. Then as we go into tomorrow, a more widespread area from northeast Texas to the Ohio River Valley all the way up into eastern Kentucky with that slight risk for flash flooding in yellow, marginal risk in the green, extending even as far north and east as West Virginia there into the Charleston area. As far as snowfall is concerned with this system, we're not going to see a lot of colder air to be working with, so the snowfall is going to be very minimal really going through the weekend. Any snow that we do see will be tied to the higher elevations or the colder air up here in the parts of interior Northeast and New England, and even so, just some lighter amounts can be expected. So not talking about any blockbuster snows anytime soon. Let's go into the first week here of February. This takes you through the first 7 days. Temperature averages during the first 7 days of the month. We're going to see in the orange and reds, those are above normal temperature averages. In the blues, the greens, and the purples, those are below normal temperature averages. And notice the colder air is bottled up further to the north into southern Canada and the Pacific Northwest. Some of that at times will take a run at the northern plains and the upper Midwest, but those will be few and far between. We are going to see a lot of moisture coming in, moisture-laden systems across the West. We've had a quiet January for the most part, especially the second half of the month across the West Coast. We're about to get very active into early February. Look at the blues here, northern and even central California, including the Sierras, and over here into Idaho, Oregon, northern Nevada, Wyoming, Utah, and even Montana here, and even following that further east downstream, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and Northeast, southern Canada, a lot of areas very active into the first week there of February. Let's talk about the West first, because that's where the systems will be evolving is across the west, and then we'll talk about areas further to the east. So starting off Saturday, February 1st, look at the atmospheric river we're dealing with here across the west, and we're dealing with a lot of rainfall here in northern, northwest California, a lot of snowfall from the Cascades down into the northern Sierras and the Rockies in general across Idaho down toward Utah. And then as we go into Sunday, a lot of that precipitation just continues. It's like a fire hose of moisture moving into northern California there on the 2nd. That continues as we go into the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and that continues even into the 7th as well. So all next week, Northern California is just going to get pummeled by some heavy, heavy moisture. And when it's all said and done, by the time we get to Saturday, February 8th, we could be seeing double-digit rainfall totals here in Northern California. And some of these areas could be approaching 15 or even 18 inches of rain, and even some significant rain totals over here as well into portions of Idaho, into northern Nevada, where we could be pushing up over 3 inches of rainfall there. And look at all the snowfall that we'll be dealing with in the higher elevations. We're talking feet of snow. We could be seeing anywhere from around 3 to 7 feet at times of snow in some of these areas. So very heavy snows for the Sierras and the watershed out west. Very heavy snows for the southern Cascades and over here to the Rockies like Idaho, western Montana, and Wyoming, all the way down to Salt Lake City. Very, very heavy snow through next week. Now let's talk about the rest of the United States, especially for our friends in southern Canada as well. We're going to be seeing a lot of moisture moving up here to the northern U.S. Some snowfall in southern Canada will be possible. This is the 1st into the 2nd. Notice the fire hose of moisture out west we're talking about. That'll mainly remain out west. We're at Tuesday, February 4th, not seeing much in the central U.S. until we get to around Wednesday, February 5th. We start to see some moisture. A lot of this, again, is rainfall because preceding these systems will be a lot of warmer air. And then we could have a winter storm potential up there in the upper Midwest, maybe Minnesota, maybe it's in Iowa, maybe it's in Wisconsin, or all three as we end next week on Thursday and into Friday, February 6th and 7th. And that could spread some heavy snowfall, maybe a blizzard perhaps, into Quebec as we go into that 7th, 8th time frame of February. So definitely keeping an eye on that. Looking at the moisture as that moves downstream, not seeing much moisture down to the south as we go into the first week of February. A lot of that will be up into the Ohio Valley, the northeast and southeastern Canada, especially for Ontario and Quebec. And a lot of that will be snowfall. The further north you go, you can see into Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan here, especially with some lake effect off Lake Superior, the northern Lake Michigan shoreline there of northern lower Michigan could be seeing heavy snowfall, and then double-digit snowfall totals. Could be seeing over a foot of snow at times into southern Ontario and Quebec, maybe even northern Maine as well as we go into the last few days of the first week of February. We're talking the 5th, 6th, 7th, and even 8th time frame. Now let's talk about the second week of February. Changes are starting to come in the long-range weather models, and winter is not over, folks. I know it feels like it out there. It'll probably feel like it for the next several days. We do have a ridge of high pressure in the east that is going to drive some milder temperatures further to the north, and that will feel mild out here, but there's still a trough and access to some colder air further off to the west. And notice how we did show you all the heavy snow we're seeing out there in the Cascades, the Sierras, and the Rockies. Well, if you have enough cold air aloft, and that colder air from the snowpack could actually shift our colder air further east as we go into the second week of February, and some of those below normal temperatures will start to infiltrate areas of the plains, the Midwest, and perhaps the western Ohio Valley as we go into that second week of February. We're talking the 8th through the 15th, and that could mean the snow line is going to drop a little bit further to the south. So areas there into the Ohio Valley, into the Midwest that haven't seen a lot of snow, and then back into the north central plains, and then eventually the northeast. Big signal for heavy snows here into that second week of February. That's on the European ensemble guidance. Let's look at the GFS ensemble. Very much the same, even further south than the GFS ensemble with that push of cold air, which makes that snow line move even further south than the European ensemble, and the Canadian ensemble guidance on board as well. So winter is not over, folks. I know it's going to feel like it the next several days, but it definitely will be cooling off a little bit, at least across the central and western U.S., and that could mean some bigger winter storms in the middle of February. Hey, if you want to stay up to date on the latest weather information, detailed, accurate weather breakdown, subscribe to the channel as we're approaching 122,000 subscribers. You want to help me get there as well? Make sure to press the subscribe button. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. We'll keep you updated on the latest with our big time storm, bringing some heavy rain, flash flooding potential, and severe weather potential, and then we'll focus our attention on the atmospheric river out across the west. So stick with me for the latest weather information. We'll have another video out for you late tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon on the latest information that we have, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday out there.